Hello my fellow working class heroes, good day. I am Carlo and welcome to Carlo Excels. These are the objectives of this episode. In this episode, we're gonna talk about the LEM Item Analysis template. We're first going to have an overview of it, then we're gonna talk about how to download it, and then we're gonna talk about how to input test data into this template, and then how to extract item analysis data from this template. Before anything else, if you're new to this channel, hello. This is Carlo Excels, a channel that is dedicated to teaching my fellow teachers here in the Philippines Microsoft Excel. Occasionally, I also create Microsoft Excel tools like this that will be helpful for my fellow teachers. Please like and share this video to your fellow teachers and drop a comment down below. It will really help with the YouTube algorithm and help those who are searching for this to find it. Thank you. So first of all, what is this item analysis template? This item analysis template can turn test data into processed item analysis data. First of all, this item analysis template can calculate the test's reliability or internal consistency. It does this in three forms. First, you have the Coulter-Richardson value 20, or we also know that as KR20. We also have the Coulter-Richardson value 21, or we also know it as a KR21. And we have the Cronbach's coefficient alpha, or Cronbach's alpha for short. This template can also do item difficulty analysis. It does this by separating the items into three categories. You have easy items, average items, and hard items. And the thresholds for those particular categories are perfectly adjustable. This template also does item discrimination analysis. It classifies items into three categories: discriminating, average discrimination, and not discriminating. And the thresholds are fully adjustable. This template also does multiple choice distractor analysis. The distractors it can handle range from A all the way to Z if it is needed. It can be done in multiple formats, but the template can only handle multiple choice questions with unique answers. This template can process all test data and give all of its results with just 2 steps. All you actually have to do is to input item types and then test data. No more need for multiple step processes like arranging the names, separating from into high group and low group, etc. This item analysis template also supports multiple item types and multiple point items altogether. So if you have test 1 multiple choice, test 2 identification, you don't have to separate them into multiple calculations or multiple templates. This item analysis template can process all of them all together in just one template, again with just 2 steps. If you have multiple point items and you have different multiple point items, like for example, one part of the test has 1 point each, another part of the test has 2 points each, 3 points each, then this template can handle all of them. And again, all of them can be done in just 2 steps. This item analysis also automatically sorts test takers into high groups and low groups. No need for you to do this manually. No need for you to manually calculate how many people are supposed to go into the high and low groups. No need for you to arrange the test takers into high and low groups yourself. This template does all of this automatically. This item analysis template also can output the processed item analysis data into a very clean, very easy to understand printable document. No need for you to format the printing of the whole template all by yourself because the template already has this for you. This item analysis template is a Microsoft Excel template. So I'm sure that most of our teachers already have Microsoft Office in their computers or laptops. It is compatible with Microsoft Office versions 2007 and above. This template unfortunately is made to not be compatible with Google Sheets because the auto-saving and the online nature of Google Sheets really screws up the calculation and some of the formulas. So this can only be used offline in Microsoft Excel. Now this Excel template comes in 2 forms. First, you have the 100 by 100 item analysis template. The 100 by 100 item analysis template can process the data of 100 students taking a test of up to 100 items. In other words, it's a smaller item analysis template. It also comes in the 500 by 200 version. The 500 by 200 version can process the data of 500 students taking a test of up to 200 items. So if we're talking about processing the item analysis data of just one class for a relatively short test, you can use the smaller, faster 100 by 100 format. If you're processing the data of maybe a whole batch of students for maybe a longer kind of test, you can use the 500 by 200 version. So where and how can you download this item analysis template? If you're watching this on YouTube, you check check the descriptions down below, you will find a download link for this item analysis template. Now, once you click on the link below, you will see something that looks like this, like what you can see on the screen right now. It's going to be a zip file, and all you will have to do is to press on that small download button on the upper right corner of your screen. If you press on that download button, you should get a zip file. If you extract the zip file, the contents of the zip file, it will contain the two versions of the template, the 100 by 100 version and the 500 by 200 version. So let me state that this item analysis template, it is free to download, it is free to distribute, and of course, it is free to use. If you're an admin level school personnel, this template is for you. You can download this item analysis template and then distribute it to your fellow teachers. You don't even have to teach them how to use it. You just lead them to this video so that I can teach them how to use the item analysis template. It's free to distribute and use that way. And most importantly, it is cheap. Your school does not have to buy any dedicated statistical software for them to use this template. Also, for our dearest admin level school personnel, this item analysis template is also great because once again, it has an easy to print output format. And this easy to print output format can easily be used if your school needs item analysis as a part of its requirements for some sort of accreditation. Next, of course, this item analysis template is made primarily for school teachers. This item analysis template, my dear fellow teachers, is easy to use, it is reliable, it will work with Microsoft Excel, which I'm sure a lot of you already have, and it will definitely help us to make better tests for our students. And this tool, of course, is going to be very helpful for our undergraduate or postgraduate education students. For our education students, I know that you have a subject assessment somewhere there in your curriculum, which requires you to calculate item analysis. So with this template, you will easily be able to do all of those assessment requirements for your subjects, and at the same time, once again, this template is cheap and easy to use. And once again, it has an easy to print format, so you have something to submit to your assessment professors. So some of you may be asking, if it's free to download, distribute, and use, then what's the catch? Well, my only request is, if you're going to get this from me, download it from me, please do not sell it when you give it to somebody else. Just give it freely, like you received it from me freely. Also, when you give the template, please give the template or distribute the template in its unedited form. Please do not edit or change any part of the template. Also, so that they will know how to use the template, you can simply give them the link to this particular YouTube video so that I can give them instructions on how to use the template once you give it to them. So, okay, before we get to the part where I show you the template and show you how you're supposed to use it, let me first balance a few expectations. For this video, we will only discuss how to use the template. We will not discuss how to process or calculate the results because I will leave that to your mentors or to your assessment professors, what the formula for KR20, KR21, and Cronbach Alpha is, things like that. We will also not discuss how to interpret the results because that's gonna be a very long video, and there are better resources than me when it comes to interpreting the actual numbers. So here we are. Once you open the template, this is the first screen that you will see. This is the Luminex Machina Item Analysis template. For this particular instructional video, I'm going to use the 100 by 100 version of the template. You don't have to worry. For those who want to use the 500 by 200 version of the template, the 100 by 100 and 500 by 200 work exactly the same. Don't worry. So first of all, you may want to identify this particular test. So you may want to put in here, for example, if you're assessing just one particular class, you may want to put in here YouTube, University, Grade 7, Section A, or something like that. Or if this is the 500 by 200 version and you're assessing a whole batch, you may want to put in here Grade 7, something like that. Next, of course, you may want to identify yourself as the teacher. So, I don't know, let's put in here Juan de la Cruz or something like that. Next, you may want to identify the name of this particular test. So, let's put in here, for example, Math first quarter exam. Next, of course, you'd want to specify when this test actually happened. So let's put in here the test date. So click on that. You will see a small arrow to the right of that cell. So let's specify a month. Let's say this happened, I don't know, let's have it happen today. Today is April 3, 2022. like so. So that's how you identify the date. Just like what I mentioned a while ago, this item analysis template is very, very flexible. It can handle multiple item types, and it can handle multiple point assignments. So some parts of your test may be multiple choice, some parts are identification, some parts are essay, some parts are problem solving. This template can handle all of that. Some parts of your test also have multiple point assignments. Some are 1 point each, some are 3 points each, some are 5 points each. This template can handle all of them. But the key to the template being able to handle all of them is you have to learn how to specify, how to tell the template these multiple point assignments and these item type assignments. So on this part of the screen, where you see my mouse cursor right now, is a guide on the item types and notes on the item type descriptions. Now let's talk about this so that you will learn how to properly assign your item types. So first of all, is your item dichotomous or non-dichotomous when it comes to scoring? What is a dichotomous item? A dichotomous item only has two possibilities. It's either correct or wrong. Non-dichotomous items, on the other hand, have varying degrees or levels of correctness. An example of a dichotomous item is a simple identification question. If your identification question, for example, asks, what is the capital city of the Philippines? Well, of course, we know that the capital city of the Philippines is Manila. So, if the student answers in the blank Manila, then it's correct. If he answers anything else, it's wrong. So you will notice that there's only correct or wrong in this sense. It's either he gets full marks for the answer for stating Manila or no marks at all for stating somebody else, correct or wrong. So something like that is a dichotomous item. An example of a non-dichotomous item is a simple essay question. Say for example, you ask the question, is Manila a good capital city for the Philippines? Why or why not? Justify your answer. Something like that. So the student can give their answers, let's say for example 5 points, but you will notice that once they write their answer, it is not a simple 5 or 0 because there are varying levels of correctness in that particular essay question. If the student is able to explain it properly, then you can give it a 5. If there is something a little bit missing on their essay question, then you can give it a 4, or maybe a 3, or maybe a 2, a 1, or a 0. So it's not as simple as 5 or 0. It's not as simple as correct or wrong. There is a very correct, a little bit correct, somewhat correct, wrong but a little bit correct, and very, very wrong. So it ranges from 5 to 0. There are varying levels or degrees of correctness. Things like that are non-dichotomous. Next thing that you will have to ask yourself is your item close-ended or open-ended when it comes to answers? A close-ended item is an item that requires students to pick from a finite amount of choices. Very good example of this is multiple choice or true or false. In multiple choice, you only have 4 choices, A, B, C, or D. That's the most common format. In true or false, basic, simple true or false, you only have true or false. So you're forcing the students to pick from either, example, 4 choices for a multiple choice question or 2 choices from a true or false question, a very finite, very limited number of choices. For open-ended items that have an infinite number of possible answers. Examples, identification, and essay. In identification, you ask a question, there's an infinite number of things that a student can write in that blank. They can write a correct answer, a very wrong answer, or any answer under the sun, even if you're not asking for it. For essays, that's the point as well. For essays, there is an infinite number of things that a student can write in the essay, so that makes all of it an open-ended item. And so, knowing all of that, these are the item types that are supported by the item analysis template. We have multiple choice, we have short answer, we have essay, and then we have other. So as you can see on the screen, for multiple choice questions, they are dichotomous in nature, they are close-ended, and you input letters as data later on when you input test data. For short answer items, they are dichotomous, they're open-ended, and you input scores, the scores of the students for that particular item as your data. For essay questions, they are non-dichotomous in nature, they're open-ended, and you input scores as data. And for other type of test items, they're non-dichotomous, they're open-ended, and you input scores as data. Now, of course, some of you may ask, there are many kinds of test types here in the Philippines that don't seem to be supported in the item analysis template. So let's go over some of these one by one. Let's first talk about matching type. So is matching type supported in this item analysis template? Well, yes, it is kind of. If in case you didn't know, matching type is just a summarized version of a multiple choice question. So on the screen right now, you have a very simple matching type question. Match the country with the correct capital city. So on the left, you see your countries, and on the right, you see your capital cities. So for this matching type, say for example, you have here the first item, Thailand. The correct answer for that would be, of course, A, Bangkok. But if in case you didn't notice, matching type works like a multiple choice wherein if you have the first question, Thailand, this is the answer key for this question while the rest are actually the distractors for this particular question. For number 2, you have Indonesia, and then of course Jakarta is the correct answer for Indonesia. Now, in the case of number 2, Jakarta is its correct answer while the rest are its choices. In fact, if you want to restructure this matching type into multiple choice questions, it will look something like this. So what is the capital of Thailand? Then you have 5 choices. What is the capital of Indonesia? Then you have the same 5 choices. Capital of Malaysia, capital of the Philippines, capital of Vietnam. You have the exact same choices across different items. So this multiple choice question is actually the same as this matching type question. So what I'm trying to say here is matching type questions can be assessed the same way you assess multiple choice questions. And of course, some of you may be thinking, but my matching type questions are not simple A to E. They run all the way from A to J or A to K or A to L or A to Z. Do not worry, my dear teachers, because this item analysis template can actually handle multiple choice questions that have choices from A all the way to Z. Then some of you may be asking, what about true or false questions? Because true or false questions are also close-ended in nature. They only have T or F. You don't have to perform distractor analysis when it comes to true or false because there are only 2 choices, so therefore, the distractor analysis of true or false is the same as its discrimination analysis. So no need for any special true or false test types. So if you have a true or false question, you can simply put it as a short answer item as far as the item analysis template is concerned. What about something like modified true or false? Now, if you remember basic modified true or false, write true if the statement is true. If the statement is false, replace the underlined word with whatever word that makes it correct. Now, in that case, the question is no longer close-ended because the answer is either true or there is an infinite number of possible things that the student can answer. So in that case, it's an open-ended answer. So as far as the template is concerned, it is considered as a short answer item. Same logic for a modified multiple choice question. In a modified multiple choice question or modified matching type question, you have pick the letter which corresponds to the correct answer, A, B, C, D, or something like that. If the answer is not within the choices, write the correct answer in the blank provided. That's a modified multiple choice or modified matching type question. Now, you will notice in that case, that is no longer a close-ended question. It's already open-ended because the answer is either A, B, C, or D, or an infinite number of possible things that the student can write there. So it's no longer close-ended, it's already open-ended, and therefore, it should be set as short answer as far as the item analysis template is concerned. Next, we have here problem solving. So what kind of a test type is problem solving? It depends on the nature of the scoring of your problem solving item. There are certain problem-solving items that are dichotomous in nature. In other words, you ask the students to make a calculation and you only check the end of the calculation. The end of the calculation is either correct or wrong. In that case, that is a dichotomous item. But there are some tests and some teachers who score problem-solving non-dichotomously. In other words, they check the item and then they look at certain parts of the calculation. So some parts are correct, some parts are wrong. So you will notice in that case that there are already varying degrees of correctness or wrongness in that particular item. So if that is how you check problem solving, then the problem solving item is non-dichotomous in nature. So if the problem solving question is dichotomous, that's how you check it, correct or wrong, and that's it. then you set it as short answer as far as the item analysis template is concerned. If you check problem solving non-dichotomously, there are varying degrees of varying levels of correctness in the calculation, then you should mark it as other, the other test type in the item analysis template. So of course, what about other test types? What about mapping, graphing, things like that? All you have to think about, my dear teachers, is how do you plan to score it? Are you going to score it dichotomously? When you score it dichotomously, meaning is there just correct or wrong and nothing in between? Or do you plan to score it non-dichotomously, meaning there are varying degrees or levels of correctness with their graphing or mapping or other things? If you plan to score it dichotomously, all of those items should be labeled as short answer as far as the item analysis template is concerned. If you plan to score it non-dichotomously, all of those items should be labeled as other when it comes to the item analysis template. So my dear teachers, why is it important for you to properly distinguish between dichotomous and non-dichotomous items? Why is it important for you to be able to distinguish the proper item types in your test? That is because, as I mentioned a while ago, this item analysis template can actually completely combine all kinds of calculations, whether the scoring is dichotomous and non-dichotomous. Take note that the calculations for CARE 20, CARE 21, and the Cronbach's alpha will change depending on if the item is dichotomous or non-dichotomous. Things like item difficulty, item discrimination, all of those will change depending on whether the item is dichotomous or non-dichotomous. You have varying formulas for varying kinds of items, and all of those are mixed into just one template. So therefore, you have to properly be able to distinguish between dichotomous and non-dichotomous so that you can tell the template all of this so that the template can assign the proper formula for the item concerned. So my dear teachers, if you kind of forget all of the explanations for those item types, you can simply come back to this video later and watch that part again. Or you can also browse the guide on the item types here on the left so that you are properly guided what dichotomous means and what non-dichotomous means and what item types you should use for your particular items on your test. Now, let's input a sample test. So say for example, you have this sample test, and as you can see on the bottom part, this test has a total of 87 items and you have a total of 100 points for this particular test. So you have here the varying test types. So you have 60 items of multiple choice. The choices are A to D, and for those multiple choice questions, you have 1 point each. You have matching type. You have 20 items, and these 20 items have A to I as their choices. So A to I, that's 9 choices, and all of these questions are 1 point each. For identification, you have 5 items identification, dichotomous in nature, and these items are 2 points each. Then you have problem solving, 1 item, non-dichotomous in nature, meaning there are varying degrees or levels of correctness in that particular problem solving question, and it's 5 points worth. Then you have 1 essay question, 1 item, non-dichotomous, 5 points for this particular question. So let's try getting this test, and then let's input it into the item analysis template so that you will see how it works. So first thing you have to do is you will see here a chart or a table which says item types. So you pick on the first space for the item type like I'm doing here right now. When you click it, you will see a guide. You see here, please select a valid item type from the available drop-down list. So you click on the small arrow to the right of that and you pick your item type. So just like what I mentioned a while ago, the first item type for this sample test is multiple choice, 60 items. So pick your multiple choice, and then you have here 60 items. So that's from number 1 to 60. So item type, multiple choice, again 60 points from 1 to 60. So you put here multiple choice from 1 to 60, like so. Next part of the test is matching type. 20 items. So you already had 1 to 60 for multiple choice, so another 20 items. That means matching type is from 61 to 80. That's 20 items worth. So as I mentioned, as we discussed a while ago, matching type can simply be treated as multiple choice. So you can add here another multiple choice from 61 to 80, like this. In fact, if you want to, you can actually put in here, just like what I'm doing here on the screen, you can have here 1 to 80 like this, and that's exactly the same. But for the sake of just for the sake of giving illustrating the example, like so, I'm gonna separate it. So multiple choice, as you can see on the screen, from 1 to 60. Then we have here another multiple choice from 61 to 80. So just like we mentioned a while ago, the next part of the test is identification. You have 5 items identification, and it is scored dichotomously. So as far as dichotomous dichotomous questions are concerned, you have here short answer. So the next item type is short answer. So that's for identification, and then you have 5 items. So you already had 1 to 80, so the next 5 is 81 to 85. So you have here short answer from 81 to 85, like so. Next, you have problem solving, which is going to be scored non-dichotomously. It's just 1 item. So just like we mentioned a while ago, because it is a non-dichotomous item, you can simply set it as the other test type, just like what you can see on the screen. So click on this item type, and then we select, for this problem solving, we select other. And then because it's just 1 item, so 81 to 85, the next item is 86. We just 1 item, so all you have to do is you put in here from 86 to 86. That's just 1 item. And last part of the test, you have an essay item. So for an essay item, non-dichotomous scoring, so you have here essay non-dichotomous in nature. So you click again on the item type, click on the arrow to the right, and then pick essay. Because we have just 1 item, and the last item is going to be number 87. So from 87 to 87. So you have their essay. Next, let's assign the points per item. So you have here minimum points, maximum points, and the same from and to when it comes to the item numbers. So the first part of the test is multiple choice from 1 to 60. From the example I gave a while ago, multiple choice 1 to 60 is going to be 1 point each. So the minimum score for multiple choice is 0. Maximum points is 1. Maximum number of points 0, minimum number of points 0, maximum points 1. And this is going to be from 1 to 60, like this. Next, next is matching type. All of these matching type questions is also 1 point each. So minimum points 0, maximum points 1, from 61 to 80. 20 points worth. Next, you have short answer. Because this is identification, you have 5 items identification, and just like our example a while ago, this is 2 points each. So minimum points is 0, because it is possible, of course, for the student to leave this blank, and then therefore they get 0 points. So 0, and maximum points, because this is 2 points each, maximum points 2. From 81 to 85, 5 items. Next, you have 1 item, problem solving non-dichotomous. So minimum points is 0, because it is possible for the student to completely leave that part of the test blank, and therefore they will get no points whatsoever. So minimum points 0, maximum points 5, because this item is 5 points. And then you have 86 to 86, because that is problem solving is number 86 on the test. Lastly, you have your essay question. So for your essay question, you have 0 minimum points if the student leaves the essay blank. And then you have maximum points 5, because this is 5 points. And then you have number 87, from 87 to 87. So just like what I showed you a while ago, this is the sample test, multiple choice, matching type, identification, problem solving, essay, here on the screen. And this is how you set it into the item analysis template. So now that we learned how to put in the item types and the points per items, let's now talk about how to put in the raw data. So in the if you look down below, this is the Gen Info tab currently we're in right now. So to start entering the raw test data, we click on the tab over here which says raw data, and we go to this screen. So on this screen, you should see here student names, the column for student names, and 1 column each for each of the items of the test. So when you click on the cell that says student names, it says here student name, please enter the student's name here. So this is where you enter the names of the students. Next, please direct your attention to these columns here. So you will have here the item number. So this is item number 1, item number 2, or in other words, on your test, that's question number 1, question number 2, 3, 4, etc. So you will already notice that based on how you did the item types and points assignments a while ago, you will already see here labels on these columns. So MC stands for multiple choice, and then as we set a while ago, minimum points 0, maximum points 1 on this particular item. Now I'd like to direct your attention to this row over here that is highlighted in yellow. So when I click there, it says here item answer. So this is where you put in the answer, the answer key for your multiple choice questions, if in case you have any. It says here, item answer. If this item is a multiple choice item, please pick the letter corresponding to the correct answer. If this is an open-ended item, meaning if it is any other item except multiple choice, then you can please select blank or just leave this column blank. Row blank. So just as an example, numbers 1 to 4 are multiple choice questions. So for example, if the answer key for number 1 is letter A, so let's just put there letter A, then letter B for number 2, and then letter C for number 3, and then letter D for number 4. So once again, this is where you put in the correct answers. Now if we scroll to the right, where you find items such as, for example, you see here short answer, then you have here the other test type in item number 86, then you have here the essay question on number 87. These are not close-ended items, these are open-ended items. So in this case, you don't have to put in the item answer, you can just leave that as is. And for this space here, this area over here, this is where you input the student's answers. So just like what's written there on the guide, if this item is a multiple choice item, please enter the letter corresponding to the student's answer here. If this item is an open-ended question, in other words, any other item type aside from multiple choice, please enter the number of points earned by the student in this item. Again, if it's multiple choice, enter the letter of the student's answer. If this is an open-ended question, you instead enter the points earned by the student. So for the purposes of this video, I already have a sample test with sample data so that we can see how to enter the things that are supposed to be entered in this particular sheet. So you have here a sheet with sample test data. You have here our fictional, completely fictional student names, and you have here sample test data for the test sample test that we set a while ago. So you have again 1 to 60 is multiple choice, 61 to 80 is matching type data, and then you have here the the identification answers here, and then you have here the problem solving question, and then you have here their essay question. So once again, in this sample data you can see, so for multiple choice questions and for the matching type questions, you're supposed to enter the letters of the student's correct answer. For open-ended questions such as this is the identification part, you're supposed to enter the student's scores. This is the same as well with the problem solving, the other test type, and for the essay test type, you put in the scores instead of course, not the letters. So let's copy over this sample data to our template. Now let's start with the answer key. So we have here our answer key for the close-ended item. So let's copy this and paste it on the part that needs the answer key. So it's this part here. Let's paste that there. So those are the answer keys for those items. Now let's transfer over the student names and the test data for these students. So let's copy all of those like so, and then paste it to our template like so. So this is data enough for 100 students. I chose to use the maximum for this particular example. But of course, this template can handle less than the maximum. If you only have 30 students in your class, if you only have 50 students in your class, no problem at all. The template can function very well and will adjust accordingly. So now you have here the test data for all 100 students, good for 87 questions. So what is the next step after entering all of the students' test data? Well, if you finish this step, you're essentially done. No more arranging into high groups and low groups, no more having to sort students' data. you're essentially done. So now that we assigned different item types for this test, and then we assigned the number of points for each and every item, and then we have our test raw data, let's see the different results that this template can draw from this particular test. Now, if you look at the tabs on the bottom left corner of the screen over here, so after the raw data sheet here, we can now proceed to the summary sheet over here. So let's talk about the data that you can see on this screen. So on the upper left most corner, let's increase the font so you'll see it clearly on the video. So you have here first the general information. So you can see here the students on record, how many people you entered into the list of students, and you have here the number of students who took this particular test. So you have 100 students for both. How many items are there on the test? Says here 87. How many points are there on the test? Says here 100 points. So this is a test with 100 points, 87 items, and taken by 100 students. Next, let's talk about test specifics. So it's over here on this part of the screen. Let's zoom in so it's easier to see. So you have here test specifics. It will show you how many dichotomous items we have, 85. How many non-dichotomous items we have, 2. Then we have our item types. You have 80 multiple choice items, 5 short answer items, you have 1 essay question, and then 1 other question. Next, we have central tendency. So it's in this part of the screen. So let's zoom in on that part of the screen. You have the central tendency of scores. So you have here the range. So the scores of the students have a range of 32 to 90, meaning the lowest score of a student is 32 and the highest score is 90. So 32 over 100 to 90 over 100. The mean, or in other words, the average score of all of the students is 65.75. Median is 68, mode is 70. The variance is 142.11 and standard deviation is 11.92. So all of these refer to the test scores of the students. Next is test reliability measurements. So what used to be a long drawn out calculation process is simply just here. So it's on this part of the screen right here. So let's zoom into that so it's easier to see. Reliability measurements. So you have here KR20, KR21, and Cronbach's coefficient alpha. So let's have a brief discussion on these reliability measurements. So Kudder-Richardson value 20 or KR20 is a test of internal consistency that measures the reliability of the test. This is primarily used when all of the items of the test are dichotomous, and if the difficulty of the test items vary wildly. So this is used when you have items that are easy, items that are average, items that are hard, and all of them are dichotomous in nature. Next, we have Kudder-Richardson value 21, or also known as KR21. So KR21 is a test of internal consistency that is used if all of the items of your test are dichotomous, and if the difficulty of each of the items do not vary wildly. So in other words, if almost all of the tests are easy, or almost all of the items are average, or almost all of the items are difficult, then KR21 is the choice for internal consistency measurements. But in essence, KR20 and KR21 are summarized estimates of Cronbach's coefficient alpha. Cronbach's coefficient alpha is the internal consistency measurement used when the items are non-dichotomous in nature, or when the items have a good mix of both dichotomous and non-dichotomous items. So you will see here on our sample tests, you have here KR20 for all items, KR21 for all items, and Cronbach's alpha for all items. But just like what I mentioned a while ago, KR20 is primarily used just for dichotomous items. So what the template does is, it removes all of the dichotomous items and takes the KR20 or KR21 of just the dichotomous items. So if that part of the test is analyzed, this is where you see the reliability of just the dichotomous items, and the dichotomous items over here. So for Cronbach's alpha, that's the same thing. So you have the Cronbach's alpha for all items. So this is the calculation. But if you remove just the non-dichotomous items, this is the Cronbach's alpha result of just the non-dichotomous items. So you will see here, according to the result, we already know that this test is a mix of dichotomous and non-dichotomous items. So therefore, the results of KR20 and KR21 is not the most accurate measurement for reliability for us. We have to look at Cronbach's alpha in this case. So we have here a result of 0.8543 as the reliability of this particular test. But if you remove just the non-dichotomous items, the essay problem, the essay questions, and the problem questions, and you take the Cronbach's alpha of just the non-dichotomous items, you will see here that you have a result of 0.4117. So is this test reliable? Well, to be honest, it depends on the author you are listening to, because different education authors will tell you different things regarding the thresholds of reliability measurements. But this is according to what I know. So for education students, please listen to your professors or your college teachers. But I am just saying what I know. For teacher-made tests for smaller classes, 0.6 for KR20, KR21, and Cronbach's alpha, 0.6 is normally acceptable as a reliability measurement. So in other words, if the reliability measurement is greater than 0.6, that's considered to be reliable. If you're talking about a batch-wide test, a test of multiple sections which has a lot of students and bigger test items, 0.8 is normally acceptable. If you're talking about a standardized test or a departmental test wherein you have more than 100 students and then you more 100 or 200 students and then you have a huge number of items, a test reliability of 0.9 is considered to be acceptable. But again, just to clarify, I am just stating what I know. For education students, please ask your professors about what reliability thresholds you're going to use. For school teachers or for administrators, please check with your school policies about what reliability thresholds you are going to use. So once again, let's review. What reliability measurements are you supposed to look at when assessing the reliability of your test? If your test only has dichotomous items and the difficulty of each and every item are very different from each other, you have some easy, some average, some hard items, then you look at KR20. If your test has all dichotomous items, you have no non-dichotomous items, all dichotomous items, but the difficulty of each and every item do not vary wildly, if more or less they're mostly easy or mostly average or mostly difficult, then you look at KR21. If you have a mix of dichotomous and non-dichotomous items, or you have purely non-dichotomous items, which is the case actually for most of our tests, then you look at Cronbach's coefficient alpha. So the next part of this screen, in the test remediation summary, you have here the results for item analysis over here. So let's zoom in so that we can see that easily. First of all, you have here difficulty analysis. So the average difficulty for this test is 0.6276, which is considered average. And then you have here item difficulty. So you have easy items, 24. You have 58 average items. And then you have 5 difficult items. For discrimination, let's scroll a bit down. So discrimination is over here. So you have here a summary of the discrimination analysis for your test. So as for your discrimination, you have a rating of 0.3062, which is considered average discrimination. For your items, you have 25 discriminating items. You have 60 average discrimination items, and then you have 2 non-discriminating items. Then for item recommendation, you have here the following entries. So you can see on the screen, item recommendation, you have, according to this, you have 23 items that you can accept, 38 items that may need revision, you have 25 items that definitely need revision, and 1 item that you should discard as far as the results of item analysis is concerned. Next, we have a summary of multiple choice distractor analysis. So it's on this part of the screen right here. So let's zoom into that part of the screen. So you have here multiple choice distractor analysis. So according to this, 46 of your items have okay distractors. 19 of your items have defective distractors. 18 of your items have rejected distractors. 34 have defects or rejects. And then you have items with defects and rejects. So you have here a bird's eye view of your distractor analysis. Now don't worry, for your item analysis part and your multiple choice distractor analysis part, there is a more detailed view of each and every item in each and every item's rating as far as difficulty, discrimination, and distractor analysis is concerned. We're gonna get there later on. And on this part of the test remediation summary screen, this is where you see your high group and the low group parts of the test. Because if you remember, separating the students in the high group and the low group is an important part of item analysis. You don't have to do that manually because this template is going to do that for you. So you have here the students that belong in the high group, the ones with the highest scores attained, and then you have the students here in the low group, the ones with the lowest scores attained. So that is the summary part of this item analysis template. Let's proceed to the printable report part of the item analysis template. So if you look at the lower left corner of the screen, once again, we are the summary sheet of this item analysis template. Let's proceed to the printable sheet over here. So click on that and you proceed to the printable results sheet. So in this printable results sheet, you will see here, of course, the label for the class as we set it a while ago. So you have here the name of the class, the name of the teacher, the name of the test, and then the date of the test. So you have here a summary of, let's zoom that in. So you have here a summary of the people who took the test. There are 100, total items 87, total points 100. You also have here central tendency of scores. Then you have here reliability measurements, and you have here average difficulty and average discrimination index. The next part is a bird's eye view of the difficulty index, the discrimination index, and the multiple choice distractor analysis. So let's start with the item difficulty analysis over here. You will see item difficulty analysis. These are the easy items of your test. So according to the results here, question number 2, question number 3, question number 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, etc. are considered by item analysis as the easy items of your test. As for the average items of your test are concerned, so you have question number 1, question number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Difficult items 9, 38, question number 61, 66, 75. So you have here a bird's eye view of difficulty in your test. Next, if you scroll down, you will see here, of course, discrimination analysis. So you have here discriminating the items considered as discriminating. So question number 4, number 5, number 7, 17, etc. So items with average discrimination, these are the items with average discrimination, and items that are not discriminating. You have question number 21 and question number 25. Next, you have item recommendation summary. So according to the template, you have here, these are the items that are considered to be acceptable. So you have on question number 4, 5, 7, 17, 19, etc. Items that may need revision are questions number 1, 6, 8, 9, 10, etc. Items that might need revision are questions number 2, 3, 11, 12, 13, etc. And items that must be discarded is question number 75. Next, over here you also see a bird's eye view of distractor analysis. So according to the template, these are the items with okay distractors. So you have questions number 3, 4. So these are for the multiple choice parts of the test. Then you have here items with either rejected or defective distractors. So you have these particular items here. And next, the template will tell you what action should be taken to your items depending on the results of item analysis. So you have here the items that are considered bankable, meaning you can store them for later use without needing to revise them as far as the item analysis results are concerned. So according to this, bankable items are items with an accept recommendation and they have okay distractors. So you have here items number 4, 5, 7, 17, 23, 25, etc. Next, these are the items that simply need a change of distractors. So they have an accept recommendation but either a reject or discard distractor. So they're okay. You cannot bank them yet, they're okay, but all you need to do is change a few distractors depending on the results of item analysis. So you have here question number 19 in this case. Then you have items that may need revision, meaning items with any revision recommendation. These are the items that have a revision recommendation, and this is the item with a discard recommendation. So once again, this sheet will tell you or will give you a bird's eye view of the results of item analysis. So let's zoom out like so. And again, I'd like to remind you, this part of the template is completely printable. So it says here, this sheet is designed to be printable. Let's zoom in. This sheet is designed to be printable on short bond paper, letter size, which is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. Just please don't change the page layout, page margins, and print area. So if you attempt to print this, it's going to look like this. Alright, so you will see it's already been neatly laid out for you, and this is something that you can submit for reports either to your education teacher or to your administrator, or this is something that you can compile if your school is aiming for accreditation. So now that we see the printable results part, meaning the bird's eye view part of the whole test, let's get to the nitty-gritty of the calculations. Let's be a bit more specific. Let's look at the specific difficulty and discrimination indices of each and every item. So to do that, all you have to do is to navigate to the difficulty and discrimination sheet. So once again, on the lower left corner, we're currently at the printable sheet. So you have to go to this sheet here that says diff disc. So this is difficulty and discrimination, so click on that and you have the screen on item difficulty and discrimination. So here in the item difficulty and discrimination sheet, you will first see the difficulty, the difficulty thresholds, the discrimination thresholds, and then the item recommendations. So let's zoom that in so that's easier to see. So according to this, according to item difficulty, the value is easy if it has a difficulty index of 0.75, greater than 0.75. It is considered hard or difficult if the item difficulty value is less than 0.25. Otherwise, the item is average. As far as discrimination thresholds are concerned, it is discriminating if the discrimination index is greater than 0.4. It is not discriminating if the value is less than 0.0001. Otherwise, the item has an average discrimination. As far as item recommendation adjustments are concerned, so we'll see here this small chart. So if the item is easy and then it is not discriminating, we want to discard the item. So if the item is easy and then it has average discrimination, then we want to put here that the item needs revision. So you will see there those results. So for example, if the item is difficult, hard, and the item is not discriminating, then we want to again discard the item. So based on those difficulty thresholds, discrimination thresholds, and item recommendation adjustments are concerned, if you scroll down, you will see here the individual difficulty indices, difficulty values, discrimination indices, and the recommendations of each and every item. So see here, for example, item number 1 is multiple choice. It has a difficulty value of 0.72. But because 0.72 is not greater than 0.75, it is still considered an average item. It is considered as an item with average discrimination, and because it has average difficulty and average discrimination, it may need revision. So item number 2, easy, according to the results of the difficulty calculation, then you have average discrimination, and according to the recommendation, needs revision. So you have all of those results for all of the 87 items that we have on this test. So this is something very important, so please listen up. The thresholds for difficulty and discrimination and the corresponding recommendations, these are what I know. These are according to what I know, but this will change depending on, for education students, depending on your college teacher and the author that your college teacher is listening to. For school teachers and for administrators, this depends on your school's policies and of course your school's mission and vision. So this can actually be changed. The difficulty thresholds, discrimination thresholds, and the recommendations may change depending on your setting. So how do you set that? If you scroll up again, these difficulty thresholds can actually be changed. Say for example, if you want easy item to be something like if the difficulty threshold is 0.80 or greater than 0.80, and you only consider it as a hard item if the item is less than 0.20 as far as difficulty thresholds are concerned, if you adjust, you can adjust this, and the adjustment you make here is going to reflect on the recommendations or here on this part of the template. For example, you want not discriminating if you want it to be not discriminating if the value is as little as -1. So any change that you make here is going to reflect in this part of the template as well. At the same time, any item recommendation adjustments you make on this part of the template is also going to affect this part of the template here. For example, if the item is easy but it is not discriminating, you don't, just an example, you don't want to discard it immediately. You just want to revise it a little bit, like so. So if you do it here, all of the changes that you make, just like the changes you made here, are going to reflect in this part of the template. And mind you, my dear teachers, students, or administrators, any changes that you make on this screen is also going to affect the the results on the printable results. So in other words, they're all chained, they're all connected together. Any change that you do here is going to affect the results of the template and is going to affect the printable results here. So that makes this template very, very flexible. It can change and can adjust based on, for students, it can adjust and change based on what your college professors want, what the author you listen to wants. For schools, it will change depending on the school policies and the school's mission and vision. So all of that can be done with this particular template. So let's put it back to their original values, 0.75, this is supposed to be 0.25, this is supposed to be 0.0001, and then this is supposed to be this card. Alright, so we put it back to its original values, and now let's proceed to the screen which shows us distractor, multiple choice distractor analysis. Now I know that this part, for education students and for some teachers, this part is the part which they hate the most because there's a lot of calculations concerned, but it's all instant as far as this template is concerned. So as for the sheets, so you'll see here, once again, we are at the difficulty and discrimination sheet. If you look at the lower left corner of your screen, let's go to this sheet here. It says MC Dist. Click on that and you proceed to multiple choice distractor analysis. So this is the multiple choice distractor analysis screen. Now, as we mentioned in our sample test a while ago, our test was mainly had choices, multiple choice choices of A to D. So let's pick here default display choices A to D. But as you can see here, this multiple choice distractor analysis part can handle multiple choices all the way to Z. If you had multiple choice questions that had choices from A to Z, then this template can actually handle that as well. Or something as basic as A to B, or if your multiple choice questions A to C, that's okay. So in this case, in this particular test, we had A to D, so that is what we pick here. Now I know some of you watching may be asking, but my test has a varying number of choices. Most of them are A to D. Some of you may think most of them are A to D, but in some questions, it's only A to C. In some questions, it's A to E. In some questions, it's A to F. So majority is A to D, but there are certain items with varying number of choices. That's okay. The template can handle that level of flexibility as well. So you can see here, I'm gonna zoom in. You can see here the item numbers. So item number 1. Currently, it is using the default display choice. The default display choice, as you've said it a while ago, is A to D. But what if this particular choice was A to, let's say, A to E? So you can make item number 1 not follow the display choice by specifying a display choice for this particular item only. So pick here A to E, like so, and you will see on the right part of the screen, you already have an additional choice over here. So this particular item is already A to E. So let's put that back to default for a while, like so. If you remember, on our sample test a while ago, 1 to 60 was multiple choice, and then you had 1 to 60 multiple choice A to D. But 61 to 80, the next 20 questions were not multiple choice. They were matching type and they had A to I choices. So let's scroll down over here. So it's over here, 61 to 80. This is multiple choice, or this was matching type, but we set it to multiple choice. But our choices were supposed to be A to I, so we can set that here. So A to I, like so. Let's zoom out so we can see A to I. A to I, like so. And then we can simply copy that and paste the results here, A to I. So in this case, you will now have majority. In this case, majority is A to D, but if you scroll down here for our matching type, you can have A to I. So yes, again, this template has that level of flexibility. Of course, for 81 to 87, these are not multiple choice questions, so you have blank over here. Now, please note that setting the display choices in the multiple choice structure analysis sheet in this template is very, very important, because the changes that you see here, on this screen will again affect the printable part of the template. So that affects this part of the template here, especially the one that says which items have OK distractors and which items have bankable distractors, this part of the screen. So setting this part of the template is very, very important so that you have accurate results as far as the printable part of the sheet is concerned. So let's look at the results of multiple choice structure analysis. Let's zoom in for a bit. So you will see here item number, the display choice, and then item type. So these are multiple choice questions. And then what is the answer to this particular item? So item number 1 has letter D as its answer. Then you will see here the results of distractor analysis. So the blank here, of course, you don't do distractor analysis at the correct answer. So it's blank over here. Now you will see sometimes an OK distractor. So what this means is letter B, as far as this question is concerned, letter B is an OK distractor. Letter A has a reject setting here. So reject means no student picked this distractor. No student picked this distractor at all. Nobody from the high group or the low group. Meaning this distractor does not do its job. It's useless. So you may want to replace that. This distractor over here is defective. So a defective distractor, if you remember concepts of multiple choice distractor analysis, what this means is this choice was picked. This is a wrong choice, but this was picked by the high group more than the low group, which once again should not happen. So therefore, this is considered as a defective distractor and you should change this, or this is an indication that something is wrong with this particular item. So we'll see here further. Here's another example. This here says 0.0, but it says okay. But if you contrast it with this 0.0, it says reject. Like, why are they different? This is 0.0 because this is 0.0, but it says okay because the template sees that it was picked equally between the high group and the low group. So equally, the high group and the low group were distracted by this particular distractor. So that's okay. So that is still okay. But in this case, it's a 0 because neither the high group nor the low group, like nobody from both groups, picked this distractor. So it is a rejected distractor. So that is the difference between a 0 with an okay and a 0 with a reject recommendation. So once again, the template can track that and will give you the correct recommendations for those items. So that's it for our multiple choice distractor analysis. The last sheet in this template is over here. You will see it on the lower left corner of your screen on the sheet that says primer. So let's scroll up. The primer on item analysis. So you have here a very short discussion regarding item analysis for those who may want to review. But of course, there are better sources and better and more comprehensive sources than this. But if you want a simple read, the reminder is all, reminders are all here. And of course, I stated my sources for that. So once again, this is the LEM Machina item analysis template. I hope this is going to be of use to you. So once again, this is free to use, free to download, and free to distribute. My only condition is please do not sell it. If you receive it freely, please please distribute it freely as well. At the same time, please don't change or edit any part of this template. And once again, for those who are new here to this channel, this is Carlo Excels. This is a channel wherein I teach my fellow teachers the basics of Microsoft Excel so that they can use it in the various functions that we need it for as teachers. And if you like the content on this video, once again, please like this video, please share this video, please comment on this video. It's going to help with the YouTube algorithm so that our fellow teachers who are looking for an item analysis template will easily find this too. And for more content like this and for more lessons on Microsoft Excel, please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss those content and lessons when they come. So that's it for this orientation and lesson on the Luminex Machina item analysis template. I hope this video has earned your subscription today. Once again, I am Carlo and this is Carlo Excels. Thank you very much for watching.